back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Yes, you know.
Get them Tennessee.
All right, everybody, welcome in. This is the latest episode of the 1796 Sports Podcast. I got Jim and Ryan with me, as always. We're going to be recapping the Tennessee Vandy game. We were actually all three in attendance in Nashville at that shithole of a arena. And I'm not going to lie, if you didn't watch the game, the box score may deceive you. There was time where we were all a little bit worried. Ryan was holding my hand. He was so worried. So, yeah. What'd you guys think? Jim, we'll start with you.
Very slow start. I mean, it went back a couple of games where I kept saying the Vols couldn't be doing that. We were lucky it was against Vanderbilt because any other quad 1, even a quad 2 team like South Carolina, which I don't think South Carolina is a quad 2 team, but anyway, but any team that's better than Vanderbilt, that might end up being a loss with the way we were playing. We couldn't even hit our free throws. And luckily, they turned it around. And Dalton Knecht just went off. So, overall, I mean, good team win, good road win. It's hard to win anywhere on the road. But got to look forward to this next game. So, we'll see.
Ryan?
Yeah, that game just encapsulates to me, like, if you come out and play sluggish on the road, you can be down at half to anybody in this conference. I've harped on it, and so have y'all too. But to me, it wasn't just that we were playing sluggish. We were missing free throws left and right. And the refs were a little bit crooked in the first half too until Deacon Barnes put them in their place. And we got a few good whistles in the second half. But, yeah, I think it showed how relentless this team is, that, you know, we're going to find a way to win against teams that we're more talented than. And that's normally how it's going to go for us.
Yeah, the officiating is something we got to touch on too. That was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. The Deacon got a technical. Is that his first technical of the year?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I feel like I think I remember one in Maui, maybe, but don't check me on that.
Okay. Well, either way, that ref is definitely going to hell, because how do you give a technical to a Deacon? What an asshole.
Well, dude, they weren't calling anything on our end. Like,
No, there was one where, like, JP Estrella got elbowed right in the nose, and they were like, no, I didn't see anything.
Well, the ridiculous thing is that the ref he was talking to wasn't even the one who teed him up. It was some guy across the court.
No, yeah. It's like in the NFL when a flag gets thrown like 20 yards away from the play. It's like, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Stupid. It's just a power trip moment.
So, yeah, I mean, when you aren't executing, you have a slow start, and you have shitty refs, you can definitely find yourself down to anybody, and that's what the Vols did. It actually was – we were down by 5 at the half, 35-30, and then they got absolutely smoked in the second half. Deacon lit into them. Ryan, you mentioned – well, both of you mentioned the free throws. Yeah, I mean, it ended up looking not that bad. The final tally for the day was 14 of 22, 64% of free throws. But it was much worse in the first half. I think Dalton in the first half was 1 of 6 on free throws. And, like, there's not really anything to nitpick Dalton about, which we'll get into. But that's the one thing, though. Like, you got to be better at your free throws. Adu missed, like, 4. It was bad. Luckily, though, my main takeaway is Vandy is really, really bad. Like, they suck a bag of assholes. Like, they are horrible. So, I mean, not taking away from the win, Knecht had an incredible performance we got to get into, but Vandy shot 37% from the field and 31% from 3. So they're really, really, really bad. And like Jim said, and Ryan, you said too, if you're playing bad in the first half against anybody in the SEC, you can slip up and see yourself down. So luckily in the second half, though, it looked a lot more like the Tennessee team we're accustomed to seeing. and it ended up being not so stress inducing in the second half. But yeah, Knecht. Obviously, Knecht is the star of the game. Once again, he took over, and he finished with a 32 point. He kind of filled up the stat sheet too, which they were talking about that on Fox Sports Knoxville after the game. He had 32 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks. Like, that's
Pretty
incredible.
sure he had 3 steals too.
Yeah, he did. Yep. Like, that's incredible. And I'll let Jim speak on this more later, but that makes me kind of think he should be the favorite for a certain award. But what did y'all think about Knecht's performance?
I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I get it's against a Vanderbilt team, but
he's done it against everybody recently.
Oh yeah, I mean he did Alabama. I mean, the kid's incredible. I think this kid can definitely be a top 10 draft pick if he keeps it up. It was awesome to be able to witness it in person, and but yeah, I mean, there's nothing else really you can say about it. But it's just incredible.
Yeah, he really spurred us ahead in the second half because for the first TV timeout, the first four minutes of the second half, Vanderbilt was still hitting shots and kind of keeping us at arm's length, but Knecht was having none of it. He went on, I think it was a 9-0 run by himself to put us ahead. And I mean, it's like Jim said, to watch him heat up and get going in person was incredible. And that 3 from the corner he hit, which should have been a 4-point play, was crazy, nuts.
You talking about the one where he fell down?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we needed pretty much every one of those points. I mean, nobody else had an insane day. I do want to shout out Adu. Adu had a good day, 9 points and 10 boards, which is exactly what you want from your starting 5. And then Vescovi had a nice little day too, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists.
Yeah, he had some timely baskets. So
I don't have the breakdown, but I know at least 2 of those threes were in the second half.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask both of you guys this. Are you worried at all about – well, I know you probably are. Triple J was once again a non-factor. And, I know there's rumors, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but there's some rumors going around. I just don't know. How do you proceed from here? When one of your starting 5 is contributing absolutely nothing, I mean, that's a little worrisome to me.
I mean, it really is truly almost literally nothing.
You got a couple boards.
Yeah, a couple of boards here and there, but I mean, he gets the ball, he'll be wide open, he won't shoot it. He passes it off. At least Vescovi, he pumps, goes to the basket, and dishes it back out. I just don't know what's going on with him. I know there's the rumors that we can't really talk about, but it's quite interesting on why. I get he has the leadership in the veteran, status, which is nice to have on the court. But if you're not going to contribute, I mean, there's plenty of talent on the bench that would.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because Josiah Jordan-James, he obviously loves Tennessee. He loves Rick Barnes. He loves the program. But I mean, at this point, he's not contributing anything scoring-wise. I still think he plays solid defense and stuff that really doesn't show up in the box score. But when you're a fifth-year senior, you have to be doing something, resembling putting the ball in the basket. So it is unfortunate. And I'll go ahead and throw this out there. I think Meshack should be starting in his place.
Well, it was weird because Meshack didn't take any shots either. He literally didn't shoot it once, which is surprising. I mean, that's typically not against Ole Miss. He had 2 crucial threes. I'd like to see him contribute a little bit more on offense. But I mean, he's an elite defender, absolutely elite. So it's hard to complain if he's not doing too much on offense because the stuff that Meshack does not always show up in the stat sheet. So I don't think even Estrella, maybe I wouldn't mind if you want to go with a bigger lineup.
Yeah, I mean, can we talk about those Estrella minutes too? I thought he played terrific in the first half. Grabbed a couple boards, had a little putback. Man, he was solid.
It was a good energy boost the team needed. Like, you could tell Rick was just trying to get a spark going. And Estrella is a high energy guy. And yeah, I totally agree with you there.
I mean, when Awaka can't help but commit 7 fouls per 40 minutes, I mean that's he has a fouling problem right now.
To be fair, though, I mean, yeah, he does. But to be fair, some of them are just complete bullshit. Like that, one of the two that he got like almost immediately, he literally breathed on the guy a little too hard.
Yeah,
we literally looked at each other and was like, "Did he just like breathe or something?" Like,
meanwhile,
dude, the crowd was going nuts because the refs in the first half were absolute trash.
They literally got a "refs you suck" chant going in the first half because there were so many. And this is an away game, by the way. What would you guys guess? You know, percentage wise, Tennessee fans, I'd say solid 80%, right?
I'd go a little lower. I think it was 75. It got pretty rowdy once when Vandy was up a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jim there. Our whole level was basically orange, but
our whole section was.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Jim. They were making a little noise, even though they had paper bags on their heads. The Vanderbilt fans were, but
we got to talk about that too, Ryan. They booed Jerry Stackhouse.
Oh yeah, and when they announced starting lineups, there was a smattering of boos. I was like, wow.
I mean, he's single handedly destroying that basketball program. So I would too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate,
and not because we talked about it. Me and Bryce, we all did on the way home. That place would be absolutely nuts if the team was good.
Yeah, and it was a hellscape for us back 10, 15 years ago. I mean, it was hard to win there when they had, Shane Foster, John Jenkins, Festus Ezeli, all those guys. I mean, they were always a tough out in Nashville, but now it's just sunk into a place where it is really sad. And I really am not trying to give them any sympathy. Like, it's truly sad, even for a rival.
No, I mean, you want to see your rivals. You don't want to see your rivals down bad that hard. Like, you want it to be entertaining. Like I was telling Jim, I'm glad that we had that 20 minutes or so where it was pretty tight, like it was a pretty stressful. Yeah. You don't want, I mean, it's nice to get blowouts, but you don't want like every time you play somebody it to just be a smattering. Like, you want your rivals to be in a somewhat spot where it's, competitive. It's a rivalry.
Yeah, it just makes it more exciting. I mean, I know I had tons of fun watching us come back and get ahead again and separate. So I totally agree with you there, Bryce.
Like, it would be kind of fun if we could the three of us go to a Vandy game and like we get shit thrown at us, or like,
yeah,
get a Philadelphia type atmosphere at Vandy. But yeah, I mean, anything else y'all wanted to touch on from that game?
I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, overall team good effort. I don't know if you guys saw Santiago Vescovi's interview, but this team is all about winning. They don't care about, Dalton Knecht is not caring about scoring 30 points a game. Yes, is it nice for his draft stock? Absolutely. But this kid wants to win a national championship, and this whole team wants to. So that's what I got from this game is, hey, they saw that DK's hitting his shots. He's getting hot. And, of course, I'm giving this kid the ball. And that's exactly what they did. And they won a road game. So
it kind of showed to me that, like, they know that DK is fully capable of taking over the game at any point, but they want to try to be team-oriented and play the Rick Barnes style, slower paced offense. But eventually it gets to the point where DK's like, all right, hold my beer. Let me get this shit right real quick.
Yeah, you got to feed the beast at some point. My last few thoughts on that game was, Vanderbilt was packing it in the first half. They had that's why everybody was they were fouling us left and right, because anytime we went to the basket, it was hack after hack. But Rick Barnes said in his post game comments that we passed up a lot of threes in the first half and we didn't in the second half, and that's kind of the reason we separated. And last thing is another solid game from Jordan Gainey, which is great to see. I hope he can keep it up, because we're going to need him this week. We have 2 tough games coming up.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're all about being fair. Like, we gave him a lot of shit when he deserved it, so he gets his flowers when he deserves it. He's come up huge lately. I mean, think about it. Without his 10 points, it's a 3-point game.
Yep, it's down to the wire.
Yeah, so that was cool to see. And then last thing, I know y'all both watched it, Dalton Knecht's post-game interview where Adu was like messing around in the background. Like, you can tell these players love each other, first of all.
Yep.
And second of all, the fact that he said that he wishes he could spend his entire 4 years here and not just the one, like, that made me tear up a little.
I mean,
he's a
talk
BFL,
about a way,
baby.
yeah. Talk about a way to endear yourself to a fan base that doesn't get to watch you for very long. I mean, that is just like you just said, Bryce. Tear to your eye.
Well, imagine how he feels like playing in a northern Colorado, which is like, I don't know, that's like Austin P size, maybe even smaller. And to go from that to hundreds of thousands of people love you and like recognize you out in public, like, that's got to be insane.
For sure.
All right, Jim, we got to get into the next big game on the docket. So what are y'all's initial thoughts, just, you know, before we get to the game? What are y'all thinking so far of South Carolina?
I just don't know how they're not ranked. I just don't. It makes no sense to me. Even if they were 25, this team should be ranked and should be a quad 1 win, in my opinion, being 17-3. Now, before anyone says anything, now I said that before I looked at their previous games. Okay, now let's go back and look at their record. Okay, I understand their best win's Kentucky. It was a great game at home. They go on the road and beat Arkansas, but Arkansas is not the same Arkansas we know. They barely sneak by Missouri, winning by 2 in Missouri. They lose to Georgia at home, and then they get slaughtered by Alabama. They did beat Mississippi State, but that was at home. But all these games that they're winning by a couple. And they, in my opinion, and this is not being biased with Tennessee, but if South Carolina wants to be that top 25 team, is they need to be winning by larger margins. And when they play a team like Tennessee, if Tennessee's defense shows up, I just don't think this game could be close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Alabama put the clamps on them. Like, I think that goes back to because I totally agree with you, Jim. Like, if you just look at their record and don't look in depth at it, you're wondering, why the hell is this team not ranked? Like, why the hell is this team not a quad 1 team? But I mean, looking back through it, you're totally right. Like, they didn't lose to Alabama. Like, they got absolutely destroyed. They lost by 30. They could only muster up 47 points, and that's not exactly a lockdown defense. You're not playing like the grit and grind Grizzlies or anything. So I don't know what happened there. And then even if you go back to their non-con, Jim, I think this is a big part of it too. Their strength of schedule sucks. And they barely beat DePaul, who's horrible. And they barely beat VMI, who's horrible. So, like, even their non-con games have been close for the most part. So I think all that added together is probably why they're not. But what that means is they really are going to want to kick our ass.
Of course, especially on the road. Teams come in and, they feed off the crowd and all that. Now, our crowd's got to be in it. It's going to have to be a rowdy environment, which it will, especially if it's a close game. But, don't sleep on the South Carolina team. I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, definitely, and that's all I'm going to say about it, actually. Don't sleep on them. Anything could happen. It's college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that whole conversation that y'all just had, that just tells me that they have a chip on their shoulder, because that's the perception right now, is that they haven't really played anybody, and when they play good teams, they normally get beat. So, I mean, when you really look at it, 3 of their wins in conference of their 5 are against – 2 of them are against Missouri, 1 of them is against Arkansas. You're talking about 2 of the worst teams in the league. But that's exactly like I just said, the same reason that they have a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to want to prove something tomorrow night. So you always got to look out, and they're ranked top 100 in defense. They're ranked ahead of us in scoring defense, in fact. So they're going to want to get in there and have a football game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention, Ryan. I think this is going to be a game where we're not getting into score predictions yet, but I think this is a game that ADU is going to have to take over a little bit. They're not a good rebounding team. They don't have a true dominant big. Like, I think this is a game that we're going to have to feed ADU quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And plus, like you said, Ryan, they did beat Kentucky. Like that's a good win. That's a really good win. Like, they're capable. What that tells me is they're capable of beating they're capable of beating anybody.
Yeah.
If they get hot.
Yeah. I mean, they shot crazy good in that game. But then you look at the game against Georgia that they lost. They missed 15 free throws, and they lost by 5.
Yeah, they're actually a worse free throw shooting team than we are.
We're really not a bad free throw shooting team, though. Like, usually our team's pretty decent, but I don't know. We heard even Billy from our Vanderbilt insider. He said, what did he say before the game even started? How's Dalton going to shoot in this arena? It's because it's a different way, to look at things that he's never played in. He's never played in this gym, but he's at home. We're at home tomorrow. We are expected to win. So I think you'll see a lot better free throw percentage by the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, in Memorial Gym, it's almost like it takes the away team an entire half to get the shooting stroke right, because of just how weird it is. I mean, if you look back on Vanderbilt's schedule, they're normally within 5 or 10 points or even leading in a lot of their SEC games at halftime. I mean, they only lost Alabama by 3 at home. You're talking about the best scoring offense in the country. So that definitely comes into account in that shithole.
It is such a weird place, man. It's like the Twilight Zone.
It's like a funhouse maze. I mean, y'all saw the concourse. It's like Ripley's Believe It or Not. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, if nobody's ever been there before, well, one, I wouldn't recommend going and not missing anything. But like, you walk in, and the second floor is not really the second floor. The second floor just has like a concession stand and a bathroom. But then you walk up another flight of stairs to like the second part of the second floor, and that's where your seats actually are. And there's no bathrooms on that level for some reason. Like, it makes no sense at all. It's horrible.
The concourse is bad. The environment is fun. That's what I'll say about it.
Like Jim said, when they're good, that place would be scary, because like the way that the sound, they have these like slanted concrete walls 3 inches from your face. So the way that you're like screams like echo, it gets loud as hell in there. But anyway, enough about that. So South Carolina, what are you guys thinking score wise?
It could go one of two ways, to be honest. Like, the last 2 times we played them, it's been, same thing, kind of just a blowout. And I don't know. It's hard to say depending on how we come out shooting, but if we play our game, I still think this ends up being a 10-plus point win.
Yeah, if we win, here's what I'll say. If it's going to be a close game, I think it's going to be under 70 points for both teams. If we're going to win by 20, we're going to score like in the 80s. I'll probably fall somewhere in the middle there. I'll probably say like 72 to 60, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little tighter. I don't know why. I'm not expecting a huge. I think the 30-point streak for Dalton probably ends tomorrow. Honestly, I think we have enough playmakers, though. I think we're a more complete team. We'll control the boards. I think it's going to be like a 74-68 type game.
Yeah, I like that. Now I do think Dalton will score 20.
Yeah, I'm not saying – I don't think he'll have a bad game by any means, but I don't think I think it'll be a different type of game. I think it'll be a slower paced game. I think we'll rely on our bigs a little bit more.
See, I'm kind of looking forward to the next, to a team that really focuses on Dalton, just because, I want to see this team step up and have someone step up like a Jordan Gainey or Zakai, to where, because we know Adu could do it. I mean, he's done it in multiple games, but we need someone, if they double DK past to someone, and we need Gainey to be hitting the shots, Santi to be hitting the shot. And we talked about Triple J. That's when you need Triple J to be hitting his shots. And then this team is, almost unbeatable with the way they play their defense. So, I'm kind of looking forward to that. Maybe South Carolina does that, but a lot of teams really haven't been doubling him. They kind of just let him do his thing, and DK just figures it out. Because he's either going to pop a three in your mouth, or if you come up on him, he's going to drive to the basket and get a foul. So
yeah, I can't remember who tweeted it, but I think it was his last basket of the game for Dalton. He just ISOs himself into a contested mid-range jumper from the free throw line. And normally for any other player, like, oh, that's a bad shot. But for Knecht, you're like, oh, that's going in.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous how well he can find a shot, even when it looks like a bad shot. He just makes it look so easy.
Well, that's what's impressive to me about him is he's not just a spot-up shooter. Like he can shoot off the ball too. It's just rare for someone like him.
Yeah.
Jim, you made a point before we started recording, I think is notable. This is it's a very important game for us. Like it shouldn't be taken lightly. I mean, no conference game is, but this is a very important game for us because what's next on the schedule is the trip up to Rupp.
exactly. This is a game where it feels like a must win. And actually, to me, in my opinion, it's a must win. You win this game, you know what? We all know Kentucky's hard to play in Rupp. So if you drop a game in Rupp, that's fine if you win this game. But if you lose this game and you go to Rupp, then you turn Rupp into a must-win game. I'm not saying you lose both, you're not going to go to the tournament, but it's going to severely hurt the team if you lose both.
Yeah. I think any game at home in conference is a must-win because, like we always say, it is hard to win on the road. So I totally agree with you, Jim. And also, if you were to win this game, at worst, you're starting conference 6-2, and then you have 6 games in a row against teams that are near the bottom of the SEC after Kentucky. So you really have a chance to separate yourself if you do what you're supposed to in the coming weeks.
Yeah, there is go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and we'll do a preview of Kentucky, but the way they've been playing, I mean, Kentucky's beatable. Even on the road, they are definitely beatable. You just have to have your big-time players, show up. And like I said before, everyone else has to do their part, especially Triple J. And
Watch that be the game where Triple J drops 20.
And I'm fine with that. I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah. So at Kentucky, tough game. You hate to say that. I mean, we'll preview it more in depth, but it's going to be a tough win. Then you get LSU at home, and then you have home games at A&M, home game at at A&M, at Arkansas, and then a home game against Vandy. So, like Ryan said, it's a streak of very winnable games after you get through South Carolina and Kentucky.
Yep. And then you go even past Vanderbilt, and you play Missouri, and then you play A&M at home. So it's really 6 games that you can really separate yourself. So these next 8 games are super important.
For sure. And I know we've talked about how terrible they are. The at Arkansas game does make me a little bit nervous, though, just because, like you said, it's an SEC road game. And Arkansas's crowds, Jim mentioned this to me, Arkansas's crowds are still really good. There's nothing else to do in Arkansas, so might as well go to the basketball game. But like they've still been packing that house. Like that's still going to be a tough game. They always get
Oh,
up
yeah.
against us too.
I mean, look what they did on Saturday night. They probably should have beat Kentucky. So, it's going to be a tough game there.
All right, so we all think we at home, being at home, is going to be the difference. We're gonna do enough to beat South Carolina. Moving on to Kentucky, so that puts us in, like I said, that's a pretty good spot. You got to feel pretty good about that. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the Lady Vols now. So, Kelly, listen, I know you're an avid listener of the show, Kelly. I defended you. And you made me look stupid. Like, come on now. Let's not be. I know Ole Miss is they're not scrubs or anything, but the Texas A&M and the Ole Miss loss, that's just the kind of things that Tennessee fans aren't going to be too happy about with the Lady Vols. So, yeah, the Lady Vols did lose yesterday. 80-75. It was at Ole Miss. I'll give them that. It was at Ole Miss, but still, I had people chirping at me today because I made a comment a couple weeks ago about how like the expectations for Kelly are ridiculous, which they still are. But yeah, then they go out and lose to Ole Miss. So thanks for that.
I mean, it's like you said, it's hard to win on the road in the ladies' game too, and even with that loss, you're in a three-way tie for second in the SEC. So it's really it's not entirely a disaster, but you're going to have to go on a stretch here to finish in the top four of the SEC standings for the ladies. So
y'all want to see something funny? So I did a poll today. They got 200 votes, and I asked if Kelly Harper should be fired. What do you guys think the result of that was?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably say over 50% yes.
Yeah, so I gave 3 options. So I did yes, no, and then to be determined, like based off how the season ends. And only 12% of people voted no. 51% voted she should already be fired, and 37% said depending on what happens the rest of the way. So like 90%, like 88% of the fan base is like probably going to be done with her, which is kind of goes back. That's like a testament to what I said earlier. Like the expectations are just ungodly.
Yeah.
Well, she's destroyed it, but
yeah, she's blown it up a little bit, especially how she performed in the non-conference, and now you're trying to make some hay in conference play, which is not where you want to be making hay. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, can't lose to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand people who are voting no or still on the fence about it, and really, I mean, are voting yes or still on the fence. And really, if you're on the fence about a coach, most of the time that means the coach is about to get fired anyway. So, I've always said that if you're on the fence about a coach, they probably need to be fired. If you're having any doubts at all, like in 2016 with Butch Jones. So
people had doubts about that.
Yeah, everybody wanted him fired after we lost to Vanderbilt to end the season, and we kept it for one more year, and we had our worst season in our program's history. So,
yeah, the good old days. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's kind of hard, you can't. It's not like everybody hates her for no reason. Like,
yeah,
she's failed. Jewel Spears is a beast, though.
Oh, 30,
yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, that team has players, like, which kind of makes it look worse for Kelly, in my opinion, because that team has 2 players that are, like, no doubt WNBA players.
Well, yeah, that's kind of I guess the whole point of the people who aren't satisfied with it is that you have the talent, but she's not doing enough with it. So that's always the deal with coaches. I mean, that's a pretty obvious thing to say. So it's just sad to see.
We'll see if they can get back on the winning track. They go to Georgia on Thursday.
Hmm.
So, and Georgia's not very good. So, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, they win.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you guys want to talk? We haven't addressed it yet, but unless you did last time, correct me if I'm wrong. Did anybody talk about Danny White's tweet yet?
Oh, let's do it. We did not address it. We were focused on Vanderbilt with Billy.
Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, our friend, the Big Orange Punch, kind of got dunked on by Danny. He was doing a thing where he was tweeting every day until Danny White addressed the student section problem, which, you know, that always works. And Danny White, so the point was, a lot of people, including us, we've mentioned before that the atmosphere at TBA is kind of lame. Like, it doesn't seem like very intimidating, right? Well, Big Orange Punch went on like a Twitter crusade about annoying Danny until he decided to move it. Well, Danny responded with the following. I guess since it's day 5, I'll answer, but won't be addressing this again. We already changed the student section prior to the 22-23 season, and moving the students from the corner to behind both baskets, closer to the court, increasing lower bowl seats by 40% while keeping the same number of upper bowl seats. We did this to enhance our home court advantage, and it has worked. Atmosphere is electric. Okay. It's disingenuous to compare the 3rd largest college basketball arena in the country that's sold out for the season to buildings half the size with a fraction of the season ticket base. Stop the nonsense. So, Jim and Ryan, I want to get y'all's initial thoughts before I give mine.
You got it, Jim.
I mean, I'm definitely an advocate of having the students closer to the basket, but I mean, he does have a point. I think they should have moved them to the sideline instead. But I mean, hey, they also have to make their money, which is pretty much what I got from that specific tweet, is that they have some big time people paying for those big time tickets, so they're not going to move them.
Yeah, I mean that's I totally agree, Jim. That's the gist of his message there. But it's like I always say. I mean, are those people really contributing to the atmosphere, even though they pay all that money? Probably not. I mean, that's our complaint, and I understand Danny White's viewpoint. He's a businessman. He's supposed to look at the bottom line as well as the success of the teams. And if we're still winning games at home, 95% of the time, why would you want to change anything that would possibly make the people who fund the program upset? So I totally understand. But the thing I didn't like about it was the last 3 words. Stop the nonsense. That's kind of talking down to the fan base. That's the only part that I didn't like.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with anything you're saying. I mean, the emotional fan part of me wants to be like, that sucks. Like, I agree with both of what you said. But the business side, I agree. Like, I mean, he's an athletic director, but I mean, he is running a business, and it does suck that a lot of the people, it's not a Danny White problem, essentially. It is a fan problem. I mean, it's called spade a spade. The people that are spending the big money are not like conducive to an electric environment, in my opinion, but it is what it is. I mean, obviously like you said, Ryan, when you're winning and selling out, not anything is going to change.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And I don't get it twisted. Like, we all love Danny. I think he 100% I think he's an incredible athletic director, and I think he has the best interest of the school in mind, 100%. I think he's in a tough spot here. It's one of those situations where you can't please everybody. So I think in his mind, he probably is like, well, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So,
yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. I love that Danny responds to people.
Yeah. It's better than him being locked away in some tower and non-accessible. So, guys, you want to talk a little baseball? We got some preseason All-Americans, and we got a ranking from one publication.
Yeah, tell us about it, Ryan.
Okay, so Baseball America has the Base Vols coming in at number 8 to start the season. We're 18 days out, by the way, so we're getting real close. And then D1 Baseball put out some preseason All-Americans, and there was 3 Vols on that list. We have Billy Amick making the second team. Our transfer from Clemson we secured in the offseason. Got Drew Beam making the second team. And we got Christian Moore making the third team. Now, should one of those guys not be first team? Like, Drew Beam has been a lights out pitcher for the last 2 years. I think he should probably be first team.
There's a couple guys that's not on any list that should be on those lists, but I mean, I get it. There's a lot of talent in the country, but still, I mean, Tennessee's loaded this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Drew Beam is the one that I most expected to be on there, but
dude, I'm so ready for some baseball. I know it takes a month and a half for it to get interesting with all these midweek games. You win 28-0, but I'm still excited. I think it's going to be another fun season of baseball.
Now let me ask you this: do you have as high expectations for the baseball team as you do for the basketball team?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because we talked about it in private. All three of us think that the basket Vols, have the potential to go all the way this year. Not predicting that, but it wouldn't surprise us if they did. Do y'all feel the same way about baseball?
It all depends on our Sunday pitcher, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a lot harder, in my opinion, to project. I mean, we both played baseball, Jim, so like a lot of it comes down to who's healthier by the time Omaha comes around, especially pitching wise. So it's hard though to not, like Ryan said, it's hard to not look at this roster and be extremely excited.
Dude, last year what we were lacking was about 2 more bats because Cal Stark is great behind the plate. Like, he is an awesome catcher behind the plate, but the pickup of Cannon Peebles is gigantic for this lineup because the kid could hit. You got Billy Amick who could hit, and he could pretty much play anywhere. It's just, I would be shocked if we didn't at least get to Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Vitello is the best coach on campus, and I don't think that's debatable. He's gotten to the College World Series 2 of the last 3 years, and the year he didn't, we were the best team for that whole season in the country. He has built the juggernaut in Knoxville it is ridiculous. He's the best coach on campus. I am more confident that baseball will do something in the postseason than I am the basketball team. And I know that's crazy to say after seeing what Dalton Knecht and the rest of the team has done this year, but that's just how high my expectations are for Tony Vitello and the Vol baseball program.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I feel like part of your rationale for that take is also like what he inherited. Like, he has the team like where he has them after what he inherited. Like, that's impressive to me.
Oh, he inherited a like broken down shed held together by Scotch tape. It was a shit show.
Well, speaking of baseball, did we mention Todd Helton yet?
Yes, we touched on that last week.
That's so awesome.
I mean,
Bryce, I wish he would become coach.
I know, right? Like, first base coach.
I'm pretty sure he still lives in Knoxville.
He does, yeah.
But Bryce, if you listen to our podcast, I mentioned it, but Todd Helton, Frank Thomas, they're the only 2 SEC players to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's huge. And like I said, that'd be such a good recruiting way to get someone to come play.
Yeah.
If you just be like, yeah, we have a Hall of Famer on our staff.
That's incredible. It is incredible. I can't wait for baseball, mostly because my MLB team is horrible. So I'm gonna be dialed in, baby.
There you go.
Are y'all worried at all about the other pitcher spot, the last pitching spot?
No, I'm not. It's not that I'm worried. It's just like someone's gonna have to solidify it. I feel like it's gonna be like probably AJ Russell, which he did plenty good last year when he got his opportunities out of the pen. So it's just someone having to step up because we weren't thinking that we would have to get another one with Chase Burns leaving. It opened up a Sunday spot.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it either. I mean, it's flowing with talent over there in that program. So I think we'll find somebody before the season's over that can help us out on that third pitching spot.
And we got the best pitching coach in the country, in my opinion.
Frank the Tank. He's a beast.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Chase Burns, Wake Forest is #1 in a lot of places. So
yeah, well, if he's starting, he's gonna get wrecked.
well, that's what he wants. So
he could have been a top draft pick for a closer or relief pitcher, but
I mean, it's just not conducive to starting. I mean, when you can hit triple digits with your fastball, that's not going to go for 5 or 6 innings.
Unless you're like Trevor Bauer, or Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, well, it's just, I don't know. I agree with you, though, 100%. I think career-wise, I don't know why you wouldn't go stick with a high-leverage pitching position, but whatever.
But
a lot to look forward to on Rocky Top.
And
it's a little bit slow on the football front right now, but that'll pick up too pretty soon.
Hey, whoa, no! You see what happened today? Did you see?
What are you referring to?
Jordan Ross jumped 31 spots in the final rankings of the 2024 class. He is the number 7 recruit in the class.
Wow, you mean they didn't lower a player's rankings after committing to us?
Well, he's actually not the only one. Peyton Lewis jumped a lot too, and he's actually, I think, number 64 in the class now. So,
yeah, he flew up 60 spots. I mean, it's like we've said it that this whole process. All these guys we got committed are dudes.
Oh yeah. Y'all seen Bennett Warren on a football field?
Yeah, he's a brick shithouse, man. He's a just absolute hoss of a man.
I think it's a tragedy that he's in the 20s as far as offensive tackles go.
You'll see.
Yeah, I know.
No, I know you guys know. I'm just saying to everyone listening, this kid's gonna be special.
I would mortgage my house that there's not going to be 20 tackles from this class that have better careers.
I totally agree.
All right. Anything else y'all want to touch on before we get out of here?
Nope. Definitely gonna be cheering on the Vols tomorrow.
Yeah, we are gonna be beating Cox tomorrow.
Beating the Cocks, baby.
Hell yeah.
Vols' favorite pastime. Go Vols.
Oh, shit. Go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.